for the rim. Garnett on the slam. Here's a Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot!
The 2025 NBA playoffs have been a movie so far. They've been extremely physical, some of the craziest finishes we've seen in the playoffs in a long time. Really good teams trying to figure each other out, some younger teams trying to make a name for themselves. It's got everything, and if I was supporting certain teams, I'd probably be losing sleep at night right now, which then wouldn't be a problem due to today's sponsor, Bear Mattress. Bear Mattress is a premium fiberglass-free mattress that is extremely comfortable and will ensure you get the best sleep possible. And it ships for free. The comfort part is not hyperbole either, because before even purchasing, you're prompted to take a quiz. This helps nail down certain specifications to make sure you are getting the perfect bed for you. After going through mine, I was matched with the Bear Elite Hybrid mattress, which was promptly delivered free as mentioned earlier for US residents, and it had none of the hassle you would imagine with receiving an item this big. It came packaged in a decently sized box, vacuum sealed and rolled up, making it so easy to just lay out, cut open, and enjoy. Something else you'll enjoy is the fact you're getting a 120-day free trial with your mattress just in case you change your mind. This is combined with very flexible financing options and flexible payment plans. Before Bear, I had the same mattress I moved out with, and while that one was comfortable, being able to tailor this one specifically to my needs has been a dream. It's very soft, keeps a cool temperature, sits pretty high up, but you still sink right through. As a full-time content creator who still remains physically active, this has been great for me as I spend long hours sitting in chairs, lifting weights, running, and sinking into my Bear mattress after long days has been very therapeutic. It's only been a couple of weeks and I love my Bear mattress so far, and I think you would too. If you're looking to upgrade your sleep, head to bearmattress.com/Dom2K and use code Dom2K to get 40% off your Bear mattress plus 2 free pillows. This is higher than what is being offered on site, so check them out while you can. After you check out, you can support the channel by telling them I sent you in their post-purchase survey. Once again, huge thank you to Bear Mattress for sponsoring today's video. Well, let's start with Nuggets Clippers, and my, I cannot believe the things I've seen. I just got done doing a greatest playoff series of all time for the Nuggets when they played the Jazz, right before they played the Clippers and also 3-1 them. Well, the Clippers' 2 losses in this series, I'm just gonna say if I was a Clipper fan, I would be feeling some really familiar feelings right now because they're games they could have, and I don't know if I would go as far as saying maybe should have won, but damn. My favorite part of this series so far has been watching these teams manage to, or figure out how to manage playing with lineups where one perimeter guy is going to be completely ignored. We talked about the Westbrook and Dunn dynamic before. Looked a little bit into it with how Russ actually helped them win Game 1. And well, Denver fared very well without Russ in Game 4, where the offense was really never forced to play this way. Kawhi Leonard, man, just back, all the way back. I will never be ashamed of saying I really thought it was up for him. I was more so looking at how the Clippers were supposed to deal with his contract in 2027, and then he goes and puts on one of the prettiest performances I've seen. Look at how they opened the series. Of course, they went straight to PNR, went ahead and worked on that soft spot as quick as they could. It's not something Denver hasn't seen before. That's also part of what we looked at with the greatest playoff series of all time, how they made it so they couldn't just auto score. That being said, yeah, like I was saying, the Clippers faithful is probably feeling like they should either be up 3-1 right now or it should be over. You're getting about what you'd expect from Jokic. He's averaging effortlessly let's just call it a 30-point triple-double, shooting around 54% from the field, 47% from 3. It's fucking ridiculous. Also, what's ridiculous, he's shooting 70% from the free throw line. Compare that to 80% on the season. So that's been weird, and I'm not really surprised what we're getting from Jamal Murray. I think after watching the season is what we've come to expect. 20 points, 6 assists, efficiency not that good, and it continues to be a little bit hard. I wouldn't call it the hard to watch. It's just when you know what we've seen from Murray in the past and look today where he misses some of the same looks, they could desperately use him at the level he looked like he was going to be. Either way, they're also getting good shooting from Aaron Gordon, who ended Game 4 in one of the most spectacular ways we've really seen. That one, I did not know what they were going to do with the call. I didn't see anything that looked conclusive. Didn't get the drone strike cam that took LeBron out. So after Los Angeles stormed back at home, took the momentum, and probably should have just went ahead and won that game and then went on to win the series. They're going back to Denver tied off of a play where, again, I've watched basketball for pretty much over 20 years now. It's one of those finishes I had almost nothing to compare it to. I had one play to compare it to with the Atlanta Hawks almost 10 years ago. This was for a playoff game and what could very well alter the winner. We talked about Kawhi, who is looking exactly like he has in playoff runs when he was actually healthy. They're even getting good play out of Norman Powell. Like, they have done the things they need to win this series so far. Batum came in and gave them good minutes on offense and made some defensive plays. I called it a 7-game series at the start. I still very much agree here. The way these games are finishing and hinging on a couple of plays or a couple of fourth quarter moments, this one is probably going to finish with a bang. And if I were supporting the Nuggets, obviously you always want to win the series, but especially with how the season ended, the outlook of the future, I would very much not want to see Jokic average a triple-double in a first-round loss. I wouldn't expect to beat the Thunder. I wouldn't want to lose this way either. The winner of the series will pretty much come down to how these fourth quarter plays, which way they swing. That's it. Does Russ hit his open corner three or not? Same for Dunn. Is Kawhi in takeover? Does Jamal Murray hit a few more shots than he normally does? Just a good old-fashioned hood classic. The Los Angeles Lakers are down 3-1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I had the Lakers in 6. This will count as the second year I looked at the Wolves in the first round, and it's looking like I got it wrong. Shout out to Minnesota, and I will take this time to say, although I picked the Lakers in this series, A, if it had been the Warriors, I had been saying on stream I would have picked Golden State. B, I feel totally justified in leaving them off the contenders list when they made the trade earlier this year. There wasn't enough of a sample size. I didn't think the roster was finished. I loved watching them down the stretch. Thought they were good. Thought they had what it took to win this series. And I bring that up because I really think watching them against the Wolves in these games, it really sticks out just how unfinished the roster actually was and why I would not budge in saying they were going to win a championship a couple of months after trading for Luka. I just didn't see it. First off, the size. Yeah, we know the whole thing with Jackson Hayes. JJ Redick came out and said what he said. That's the only big they actually play on the roster, and it's just not cutting it, man. The Wolves have a lot of size in Randall, Nas, their forwards are big, Gobert. And I'm not, speaking of Gobert, I'm not happy with how the Lakers have chosen to approach it. I've seen it happen throughout the years. And one reason Gobert's defensive numbers, specifically in matchups, will look the way they do is because, goddamn, every player in the league gets him on an island and wants to be the one to cook him. And I've seen multiple Lakers get him on the switch and proceed to take some of the worst shots you will see, whether it's driving straight into him, trying to get him down to the paint where that's literally where he's best at, or just flat out taking a contested shot to show him up. It's happened so many times throughout the year. I see the Lakers doing it now. Not only does he benefit from this, I really feel like it stagnates the offense as well when guys want to just default to the P&R and play 1v1, especially if it ends in a bad shot and the Wolves didn't even put 2 to the ball. Now there's not a shooter open. I don't know. I feel like there's times where they very much have taken advantage of him being on the floor, being able to swing the ball around fast, create an advantage. And there's other where they've played right into Minnesota's advantage with him. And they're right there. The Wolves even having that option to play Rudy and actually have a rim protector or somebody who can get stops and also play small and have a lineup that can shoot. Yeah, the Wolves are really not deficient enough for the Lakers to just pick something and go at it. I was not really counting on Austin Reeves just having a C+ series, and he really shows where I think the roster needs work because yes, he's good, but he is also not good on defense, and he's also next to Luka, who is not good on defense. And then on offense, I can very much see a world this summer where he is part of a deal that brings them things they actually need on the roster because they don't need another ball handler who can score. And they definitely don't need a ball handler who can score to just be kind of sitting and waiting on shots. Not in place of something they could be using like size or another two-way guy. Yeah, it's hurt. And LeBron, look, he's going to post his stats. He's going to post his numbers. It's always going to look great because he's 40. As someone who's seen LeBron's whole career, these amazing stat lines today, they don't hit. Not the same way they did, the way he gets the buckets. It's a lot more within the offense. We were talking about on stream this being the first time he would come into a series and not necessarily be the first option and have another ball handler next to him. I guess I would say first time since that little experiment with him and Wade. That got weird in 2011. Yeah, that combined with his age and him not being able to make some of the same plays he has in the past, he dominates in different ways and it's not as imposing. But that's not to take anything away from what he's done here at 40. Even in game 4 they lost, he had about 4 or 5 just flat out great defensive plays at the end. I just don't really know what you do with Anthony Edwards. The man had his ankle rolled on. It didn't go all the way, thankfully, and got right back up and continued to author one of his best playoff performances. They came into the 4th quarter down, and he walks in and takes some of the craziest shots you'll see, and it pays off. He said that once upon a time he studied Luka and the defensive coverages he sees and how he's still able to be effective, and I would say you can see some of that here. This is totally not just, hey, Ant, go put your head down, go score, go do everything and just cook. No, it's swing the ball around. Randall picks his spots and timing way better than he used to, which is something else I said in the prediction. You hadn't watched Julius Randle and you've only really formed opinions of him off memes lately. Well, this is more so the Randle of down the stretch. And also playing some good defense as well. They are getting the best parts of Randle, which I will say, to make the predictions, he was a wild card. Didn't know if you were going to get the New York him or the end of the season him. Well, you see which one they've got. I felt comfortable saying I just hadn't seen it in the playoffs, so I'm going to have to pick off of what I know. Well, yeah, Randall, all credit to him. This series still could have been tied by now, but I will say, obviously 3-1, they're at a huge disadvantage. Over the course of games, the Wolves' size, depth, and athleticism just kind of grinds them down, and they don't have the things to respond. As you saw, by the way, JJ Redick, for the second half of game 4, for the first time in history, put out a lineup and didn't sub in the playoffs. We've never seen that in the second half of a playoff game. There's never been no subs. And you look at the Lakers and go, really, who were they going to sub? What difference would Jackson Hayes make here? What is Goodwin going to do? Maybe for the next game, we'll see a couple of different bodies, a couple of different lineups. Now they're down, but yeah. I think Minnesota just had more versatility. They had more they could get to. The Lakers, depending on Luka flings, shooters, and 40-year-old Bron just hasn't cut it. I don't think a 3-1 comeback is likely. People have to remember 2016 was 10 years ago and Bron used to control damn near everything back then. It's just different today. Shout out to Anthony Edwards, bro. If he gets this done, it will mean last year he just came and stepped all over Phoenix's territory, helped dethrone the Nuggets, and now have sent LeBron and Luka home in the first round in an offense that doesn't favor him the way you would, or a player like him would probably hope at this point in their career. I mean, you look at how he has to attack sometimes. It'll look like he's playing in a phone booth because you've got Julius Randle out there, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You've got a lineup with Gobert. Defenses are totally fine with showing Ant he's not about to just walk into the paint. And he still found ways to be effective, found ways to score, get other guys involved. This has been magnificent to watch, and shout out Minnesota. When this video drops, it'll be on the day of Warriors-Rockets, and the Rockets are down 2-1 despite the Jimmy Butler injury, man. So first of all, zero surprises with the Warriors walking in and taking game 1. In a playoff setting, I would say this went exactly how you'd expect. I saw a tweet that said the Rockets constantly look like they're playing without their best player, and it's spot on. They just are missing that consistent perimeter guy who, when nothing else is working, when maybe you don't want your possession to take a while by dumping it down to a big, they just don't have it. Jalen Green is not that consistent part yet. During the season, you'll see some flashes, he'll string together some games, but so far it has yet to be something you can bet on, something you can bank and expect. Golden State has taken advantage. I mean, I told y'all Steph wouldn't stay down for long. Sure, they forced one of his worst games probably ever the other week. It's still Steph. He's still proving himself here. He's not going to stop moving when he gets the ball, or when he gets rid of the ball. You can play the best defense in the world and still get got. And when I thought about this combined with a Jimmy Butler and the pressure he puts on a defense, I just didn't think Houston would have enough to respond, and so far they kind of haven't. I still feel very comfortable with the Golden State pick here. I just don't really know what turns on for Houston. It makes me feel differently. The offense isn't going to get a ton better over the course of a series. And like the night Jimmy missed, if other Warriors shooters are gonna hit, then, well, yeah, they really don't have a ton of response. For 4 games, I'm having to look and say I trust this Rockets offense to pull it out, and I don't. That being said, still don't have much update on Jimmy. He took a hard fall. You know he wouldn't really miss a game if he didn't have to in the context of the playoffs. And If for some reason they had to play the rest of the series without him, I still think that changes the math a little bit, just because if Steph does pop a bad game or two, that gets harder to cover up. But they just showed they can win without him. If Jimmy doesn't come back anytime soon, or he's not as good as he was or what have you, I can see the series going longer than it should have. In any case, I just still feel very comfortable. This is a team I've watched for 10 years do a lot of the same stuff. They're going against a young team who is in desperate need of roster improvements to really get to being a believable second seed. In terms of the playoffs, they were good this season. They are not a second seed Western Conference level team. That was the shock and awe of them doing what they did this year in the first place. The Grizzlies were swept by OKC, and I do think it would have been a little bit longer of a series if Ja hadn't got hurt. I specifically believe they win the game he got hurt in. I don't agree with him that he had him figured out. Memphis was a team people forget, especially because of the firing there at the end. They were a bit better than an 8th seed most of the year. They got caught up in that West trap at the end. The Thunder took care of business, and now I really wonder where the Grizzlies are headed. They were one of the more intriguing teams to talk about in that halfway through the 2020s vid. This was a down year for Ja. Missed a good bit of time. Didn't look the same on the floor. You probably are never gonna get me to believe in a Jaren Jackson-led team. I'm sorry. With what it takes to win championships, I never see it going that way. But they gotta make some moves, man. If they actually care, if the front office actually cares about improving their situation, well, we're dating back to 2022 where they were the young team who was supposed to come up in the West, and we are headed to the 2026 season. It really has not gone anywhere. There are going to be changes, or at least there should be. The New York Knicks have actually pulled it together well enough to have a 3-1 lead against Detroit in a series. I'm gonna say maybe they wouldn't have lost because I do believe the talent disparity is there, but it could have easily been a 6 or 7 gamer, which it still might be 6, but boy, this had the potential to be a dogfight down to the 7th game. Detroit came in and leaned on a lot of why they were successful against New York in the regular season. It just felt like things changed when they got to Detroit. Guys started hitting some more open shots. Cat got more aggressive. I saw a Knicks page post through, I believe, the first 3 games. They'd only shot 31% from 3, so obviously makes them easier to defend. The key here, though, in really turning things is an aggressive Cat. Yeah, Jalen Brunson. The thing that definitively made them better than Detroit is they have Cat. If you're wondering why, or if for some reason you thought New York was way better than they actually are, though, and you're wondering why Detroit was this close in the first place, good team A, and they just match up really well with them. Having to make New York decide between having Cat at center so they could run their offense smoothly and playing Mitch so they could, get more reliable with stops. Knicks with a short rotation having to dig in and play D on guys on the perimeter and stay in front of them, not get blown by, not give up open threes. This was just a really good matchup. It's another one where the difference between Knicks and Pistons being 3-1 and a series like the Nuggets Clippers being 2-2 is once again just those final plays. And I think Detroit probably got fouled there at the end. That's something I meant to mention. This playoffs overall has just been another level of physical. I've seen a lot of postseasons. We have always known it's a famous thing. Basketball changes in the playoffs, it gets more physical, the calls are different, but boy, I am seeing grabbing, holding, pulling, guys' jerseys are getting pulled. They're letting them play, and sometimes it manifests in calls you think would normally go one way, and they just ain't going. So New York is probably going to take care of business here. I think they got their confidence. I wouldn't be surprised if it still goes 6. The Pistons have proven they can play with them. They've proven they've have enough to get to make New York struggle. Going up 10 on them doesn't just end the game, 10 or 15. Overall, Detroit one day is just going to benefit from having a second guy next to Cade and not role players. Ivy getting hurt didn't help, but that's just where Detroit is right now as a team and as a roster. It was definitely a good fight for them, and I hope it continues from here. If they really are going out, which I'm going to assume they are, I hope it's not just a one-off and they go back and we don't see Cade much. They have something here. They have something in Cade. Roster just needs to mature, and they've got to find that consistent number 2, that long-term number 2. Well, the Pacers are up 3-1, and things just got really bad. Things just got really bad. We knew coming into it wasn't likely Milwaukee was going to win. We didn't think Dame's participation was likely, but then he historically came back from something players don't come back from that quickly. And now, as I sit here and record this, just about an hour and a half ago, I learned Damian Lillard may have suffered a torn Achilles, and I'm really sad. I'm really sad. I followed Dame from day one in the league. I will never forget his first game against the Lakers, and the implications here almost have nothing to do with the series. I really don't think they were beating Indiana either way. The roster has just pretty much deteriorated into having deficiencies that never made a long playoff run too likely. Now we are looking at a world where Giannis doesn't have a lot of time left on his deal. He's never been super committal to the Bucks. The go for it move never fully panned out next to him, partly due to the fact Middleton also wasn't panning out any longer. And now that piece has a potential career-altering injury at this age. I mean, it's whoa, especially for a guard who used to be pretty explosive. That does not bode well, and I feel pretty comfortable saying that it's probably a wrap on the whole Dame and Giannis experiment, or at least any hopes it was ever going for. You tear your Achilles in April, I would be hard pressed to say you play almost any of the next season. Even if you do, what shape is this team going to be in when you get back? Yeah, it's a bad time. It was already a bad time, now it's a tragic time. I am going to keep a close eye on what Milwaukee does next, what Giannis says next, because he's always put something out there and got the gears moving. Down 3-1 with the one game they won coming from a Gary Trent explosion. Think we can go ahead and get ready to see Indiana in the next round against Cleveland. Yeah, sorry Milwaukee. And I'm really sad and afraid for Dame. The Celtics went up 3-1 against Orlando. The only interesting things in the series so far, well, first, the fact we even got it, because when I didn't review the top two series or the first two series in the East, I did say the only one I would have been remotely interested in was the Magic, because they've got a guy like Paolo. Team very clearly wasn't really ready to make any noise here. They're in desperate need of a really good point guard, still need more shooters. About the only thing I would say is the physicality, once again, of these playoffs. You heard the Celtics talking about it. That much was fun. I think Boston needed it. I generally, if I'm supporting the team, I generally hope they don't just sleepwalk through the first round where they had no type of test. At least they have seen what the rest of these playoffs might be like in terms of that part. And how about Darius Garland and Tyler Hero going back and forth? And especially over defense. Yeah, the Heat were never really in position to stand a chance here. Cleveland looks poised to get it done in 4. They will be moving on to probably play Indiana. Those predictions will be out when the second round begins, or rather when the first round ends. Sometimes those happen on the same day. So be on the lookout. Let me know what you think of the playoffs so far, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, sub, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching.